Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Carl Jung. Think about that for a moment. How many times have you looked at your own life and felt as if you were walking in circles, repeating the same patterns, meeting the same kind of people, facing the same struggles, as though destiny itself had already been written for you? It is a haunting feeling, isn't it? To sense that you are not truly steering your own existence, but rather being carried along by invisible forces inside you. And yet, Jung reminds us that these forces are not destiny at all. They are habits, both mental and emotional, deeply embedded in the unconscious, waiting to be uncovered. So let me ask you directly, how many times have you caught yourself promising change, swearing that tomorrow will be different, only to fall back into the exact same behaviors that keep you stuck? If you are honest, you know this is not weakness. It is simply the power of unconscious patterns, controlling you without your consent. Now imagine, just for a moment, that there are only two habits, two simple practices, that if you begin them tonight, could start to dismantle those patterns and give you back the wheel of your own life. This is not about grand resolutions or impossible transformations. It is about choosing to do something small but deeply intentional, something Jung himself lived by. That is what makes his wisdom timeless. It is not theory locked away in books, but a practical key to unlocking freedom in your daily existence. Jung understood that the unconscious does not need to remain a mystery. It can be engaged, questioned, and slowly brought into the light of awareness. And when that happens, what once felt like fate suddenly becomes choice. That is the real meaning of transformation, not a dramatic change imposed from the outside, but a quiet revolution within. This is what Jung meant when he spoke about the power of becoming conscious of the small habits that silently shape our lives. And tonight, I want to share with you two of those habits, two of Jung's most powerful insights that have the potential to change everything, not years from now, not in some distant future, but starting right here, right now, the moment you decide to try them. And before we dive in, if you find value in exploring these deeper ideas and want to keep uncovering the wisdom of Jung and other great thinkers, make sure you subscribe to the channel, because the journey inward is only just beginning. Carl Jung believed that the very first step toward any real transformation is the courage to confront yourself without masks, without excuses, and without the comfortable stories you tell the world. And this is not easy, because most of us spend years running from our own reflection, terrified of what we might discover if we sit alone in silence. Yet Jung insisted that if you want to change your life, you must begin here, with the raw, unpolished truth of who you are when no one is watching. The practice is deceptively simple. Each day, even if it is only for 10 minutes, withdraw from the noise of the world and give yourself permission to sit quietly, not as you wish to be, not as you pretend to be, but as you actually are. As the minutes pass, you will notice the restless flow of thoughts, old regrets, hidden fears, unfinished desires, rising to the surface. Most people push these away or drown them out with distraction, but Jung's invitation is the opposite. Allow them to come. Observe them without denial, without judgment, and without rushing to justify them. This act of honest witnessing begins to pull the unconscious into the light, and in that moment, you are no longer a prisoner of unseen forces. To deepen the practice, Jung recommended keeping a journal, a private space where the fragments of your inner world can be captured in words before they slip back into the shadows. Writing down what you feel, what you think, and what you dream of creates a mirror that reflects parts of you that would otherwise remain hidden. It is not about producing perfect sentences, but about recording the truth of your inner life, however chaotic or uncomfortable it may appear. Over time, patterns emerge, recurring emotions, repetitive thoughts, the subtle triggers that quietly dictate your behavior. And suddenly, what once felt like fate reveals itself as habit. This is where the power of the practice lies. When you can see your patterns clearly, you begin to regain freedom over your choices. You stop living on autopilot, reacting blindly, and instead you start acting with awareness. That awareness is what Jung called individuation, the process of becoming whole by embracing both your light and your shadow. Imagine the strength that comes from knowing exactly what drives you, both the noble and the destructive. With that knowledge, you no longer sabotage yourself unknowingly. You can decide, consciously, how you want to live. The habit of sitting with yourself and writing honestly may seem small, even ordinary, but in reality, it is one of the most radical acts you can commit in a world addicted to distraction. It is an act of reclaiming your life from the unconscious patterns that once controlled it. And if you make it a daily ritual, no matter how brief, you will find that your sense of clarity grows sharper, your decisions stronger, and your connection to yourself deeper. This is why Jung saw self-confrontation as the doorway to transformation, because without honesty with yourself, every other attempt at change is built on sand, but with it, you stand on solid ground. The kind of ground where true freedom and growth can finally take root. Now we move to the second habit, one that Jung valued just as much as the first, the habit of listening to symbols and dreams. For Carl Jung, dreams were never just random illusions of the sleeping mind. To him, they were living messages sent by the unconscious, speaking in its own mysterious language of symbols. Jung believed that our deeper self is always in dialogue with us, always reaching out from beneath the surface, and that dreams are the most direct doorway into that hidden communication. The practice is simple, but it requires sincerity. Before you fall asleep, take a notebook and write down a question, a worry, or even an unresolved thought that weighs on you. This small act tells the unconscious, I am ready to listen. When you wake up, no matter how blurry the memory, write down whatever dream, image, or symbol lingers in your mind. It doesn't need to be complete or even logical. Just capture it as it comes. The goal is not to interpret your dream literally, as if it were a coded riddle with one fixed answer, but rather to ask, what could this symbol be trying to reveal about my life right now? Perhaps you dream of a locked door. It might not mean a door at all, but rather an opportunity you feel excluded from, or a part of yourself you haven't yet opened. Maybe you are endlessly running in a dream. That could reflect the exhaustion of chasing goals that aren't truly yours, or a fear of being overtaken by responsibilities. Jung warned us not to force an explanation, but to approach these images with openness, as though sitting with an old friend who speaks in metaphors. Over time, something fascinating happens. The dreams begin to respond. They grow clearer, more connected to the questions you carry, offering not only reflections of your inner struggles, but sometimes even unexpected solutions. This is the gift of listening to dreams. They bypass the narrow logic of the conscious mind and deliver insights in a language your soul already understands. Practically speaking, this habit can illuminate the conflicts that quietly shape your choices. A dream might show you that the career path you chase is not aligned with your true calling, but with someone else's expectations. Another might reveal the fear you bury under endless busyness, a fear that explains why you hold back from what you truly desire. And just as often, dreams bring encouragement, symbols of courage, love, or possibility that remind you of the power you had forgotten within yourself. When you combine this habit with the first, daily self-confrontation and honest journaling, they form a cycle. In the day you observe and write, in the night you listen and receive. One clears the space for truth, the other fills it with new meaning. Together, they weave a rhythm of awareness that deepens your connection to yourself. And this is why Jung placed such importance on symbols and dreams, because they remind us that true transformation is not achieved by willpower alone, but by opening ourselves to the full conversation between the conscious and the unconscious. When you learn to listen to that conversation, life stops feeling like blind fate and begins to unfold as conscious choice. Guided not just by reason, but by the wisdom that has been waiting within you all along. In the end, everything we've explored tonight comes down to two simple but powerful habits drawn from the wisdom of Carl Jung: the courage to face yourself honestly in the quiet moments of your day, and the openness to listen to the language of your dreams at night. If you begin practicing even one of them this evening, you will notice subtle but undeniable shifts, greater clarity in your decisions, deeper honesty in your emotions, and more authenticity in your relationships. Because real change, as Jung understood, does not arrive through dramatic resolutions or sudden revolutions. It begins in the smallest of choices, in the simple act of daring to see yourself as you are, and daring to listen to what your unconscious has been trying to tell you all along. Life transforms not in giant leaps, but in those fragile, private moments when you finally stop running and allow yourself to hear the truth. So let me leave you with this. Do not wait for tomorrow or for the perfect conditions. Try tonight. Choose one habit, whether it is 10 quiet minutes of honest reflection with your journal, or the simple act of recording the dream you carry into the morning, and see what happens. You may be surprised by how quickly your inner world begins to shift, and how naturally that shift flows into every part of your life. Jung believed that transformation starts the moment we decide to listen inwardly. That moment could be tonight.